It's been a couple days since I've made a video. A lot has happened since, and I've just been kind of moving around, preparing for my big move out of the country. And I am just so excited. However, what I find is that sometimes when we're going to make these big changes, we sometimes have things that kind of fall apart in the process. But instead of us looking at it, I want us to, looking at it as a bad thing. I want us to start looking at things by reframing what it is that we're telling ourselves. So, for example, I had something very terrible happen to me, and at the time I was just panicking. I was just freaking out. I probably overreacted just a little bit. A few months ago, even a few years ago, I probably would have overreacted even more. However, I felt like because I'm much more self aware and because I've been practicing a lot of meditation and patience, I didn't overreact nearly as much as I could have. However, that overreaction was still there. That feeling of anger was still there, and it was very, very hard for me to kind of release it in a way that I've been, teaching others to do. There's only so much pacing back and forth, there's only so much journaling, there's only so much venting you can do before you feel as though it's not really helping the situation, especially depending on the situation. It could be very, very devastating. So I say all that to say, I got through the situation in a matter of about a few days. I would say about 3 or 4 days I was dealing with this situation. And I failed to see and look around me all of the blessings that had occurred despite this, situation happening to me. I didn't really take the time to sit down and be like, wow, well, I'm very fortunate to have even encountered this situation. Most people would not have even been able to be in this position of misfortune if they weren't blessed with all of the things that I've been blessed with. So that's one way that I was able to reframe what was happening to me. Another thing that I was able to do was just kind of, if there's other people involved in whatever situation you're going through at the moment, kind of seeing it from their perspective, stepping into their shoes, what led them to react this way and what's leading you to react towards them in this way. It's kind of a process of taking a step back from the situation and looking at it from a higher perspective. That's some things we tend to not do when we're going through something that's, very stressful, or when we're going through something and we fail to see everything else but that. We tend to have these like blinders on when we're angry or when we're anxious. And that takes me to my next point of all of the should haves, would haves, could haves, what ifs, those questions that we constantly play in our head are kind of what leads us deeper into a more anxious or anger state of being. And so I know this is a lot easier said than done, but with practice, we are going to be able to not allow these feelings and these thoughts to dictate our actions, which is where I mentioned the overreaction was, not something that I would typically do on a normal basis, but because given the circumstances and given the heightened emotions, it kind of felt as though that was the only way that I could express what I was feeling. But it's not. It never truly is the only way. Overreaction is not the only form of expression. There's so many other forms of expression, and the point of this video is to basically tell you to find that, or to guide you, not tell you, to guide you towards that expression that is going to be most useful for you in any stressful moment. So, let's say, for example, you're at your job and you've encountered a very, very stressful situation with a coworker that you don't necessarily like, or with a manager that you don't necessarily like. Typically, what we would do is we would probably vent to someone that we know, that we trust, or others might just go directly to that coworker or that boss and just let it all out. In this scenario, only one option I would say would allow you to walk away feeling dignified, but also walk away with keeping your job. And typically, that is venting to your friends or people that you trust. The alternative option would have been what I would consider kind of like an overreaction. And that's not necessarily how we want to move about in this world, because after you've had time to calm down and once the fleeting or the heightened emotions have gone away, we're left with those actions that we did take. And if you're lucky, those individuals that you overreacted towards may have no hard feelings, but typically that's not usually the case. So we have to think in hindsight about how we are reacting to the emotions that we're feeling and how we're choosing to express those emotions. So, all of this is basically helping you to figure out what is the best way to express these emotions that we sometimes can't really handle all the time, all the way. And you may not be able to do this until you're encountering a stressful situation, but just remembering the fact that you have choices and you have options of how you choose to express this emotion will help you take note of how you got through a certain situation. And like I said in the beginning, it's going to take some practice. However, over time, you'll see, wow, I no longer act or react the way that I used to similar situations because I'm more self aware. I've taken the time to self reflect, and I've also taken the time to understand myself and understand that my emotions are something that passes through me. They are not me. And we want to make sure that we're not doing things that are contradictive to that. So, I am in an in between phase at the moment. I am preparing to make a huge, huge leap by moving to a new country. And I feel as though this entire situation and everything that I just spoke about was just preparing me. I looked at it as a lesson of patience and understanding, but also preparation for what is to come. And I'm not saying it's going to be all like this, but just being able to deal with something like this now and figure out how to move through it is going to help me so much in my encounters and relationships in the future to come. I'm not saying that it's, like I said, it's not going to all be like this, but I I'm just really grateful that I'm able to share this with you all, because although it was a very stressful few days, I got through it. And regardless of what you're going through at the moment, you too can get through it. Just, taking the messages that I've shared with you in this video and checking out other people who have also been sharing their experiences on how to move through situations as, a human being, because we are humans with emotions. But I hope this was helpful, and I look forward to sharing more about my own experiences in these upcoming weeks as I make my big move to a new country. Thank you.